Now, turning our focus to critical topic in tech leadership, we see that female founders continue to face unique challenges despite driving some of the most innovative startups. How can they break through bias, secure funding, and scale their ventures in a male-dominated landscape? This final session of the day, Women Entrepreneurs in Tech Challenges and Opportunities, brings together trailblazers who have navigated through hurdles. Are you ready to hear about real-world strategies, lessons learned, and approaches that empower women to thrive and lead in technology? Let's give a warm welcome to our inspiring panelists as they take the stage for this important and energizing conversation. Please put your hands together for Cynthia Appiah, or Appiah? All right, I got it right the first time. CEO and CMO of BeautyTECH. We also have Sabina Iyengar. Hopefully I said that correctly. All right, CEO and founder of Integrated Growth Marketing Services. We also have Stacy Gerke. All right, let's welcome her up to the stage. And then we also have Amrita Mishra, the head of partnerships and engagement at Women in Tech, Singapore chapter. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Adriana Vadillo, founder and CEO of Global Computing. All right, let's give them a round of applause, and I will let them take over.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start standing, and then I might head over next to you if we need. Okay. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today, and I know that we have people online also as we are streaming, so thanks for joining us. My name is Sabina Iyengar, and I am CEO and founder of Integrated Growth Marketing Services. I started the company to help organizations think more holistically about growth marketing through full funnel strategies and not just lead generation. Over the past 2 years, I have built IGMS working with late-stage SaaS startups as a fractional leader, stepping into executive environments and helping teams rethink how they approach growth marketing and demand. The biggest shift that I have had to make is going between corporate and becoming a woman entrepreneur in tech. A lot of what I've learned through that journey is what I capture in my book, and I have a few copies. It's called A Maze of Choices, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Getting Started. And it's how women leaders navigate uncertainty and make decisions without a clear playbook. To set the stage, today, women make up only about 26 to 28% of the global tech workforce, despite being nearly half of the overall workforce. This gap becomes even more pronounced at the leadership level, where we have only about 17% in the CEO seat. Nearly 50% of women in the tech report experiencing bias and discrimination, and over 80% say they feel they have to prove themselves more than their peers. So today isn't about just general advice. It's about real decisions, trade-offs, and opportunities that shape how we build and lead in tech. I am so honored to be on stage with these amazing women here, and I'm going to go ahead and get them to introduce themselves, and we will get this conversation started. So let's start with you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Sabina.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for doing an amazing job bringing together global leaders. It's very inspiring. My name is Cynthia Appiah, and I'm known as the world's #1 digital diva. I am a systems architect and the one and only original STEM OG. I'll get to that story later on. But I am the CEO and founder of Beauty From Within Coaching and Consulting and BeautyTECH. My brands are not businesses. They are an interconnected empowerment tech ecosystem. We utilize AI, artificial intelligence, and AR, augmented reality, to create brand assets for brands. Our vertical is the beauty and healthcare industries. So currently we are engineering our 2 proprietary engines, Rita AI, which is our agentic empowerment brain, Prism AR, which is, uses spatial intelligence, and appearance-based behavioral health intervention for our vehicle.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. Hi, so I'm Stacy Gerke. I'm actually a professor at Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida, and I teach game business and esports strategic marketing. So to summarize, what I do is I teach the business of gaming. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and the importance of it cannot be overstated, where we need to shift the mindset that has previously been that gamers are a certain kind of personality and a certain type of demographic, and everyone is actually a gamer. So I like to tell people that my mom, who is in her 80s, is actually a gamer because she will sit and play Candy Crush while she is waiting for her doctor's appointments or just hanging out in general at her house. That's a gamer. So in order to do that, we need to better understand our audiences, and we need to better understand what motivates them to get into this space in the first place. So with that, Full Sail University has kind of enabled me to be here today and to ensure that I represent women in technology amongst these beautiful ladies here with me today, and talk to you guys more about how we can shift the mindsets of women in technology and gaming spaces as well, to really bring people up to speed on how it can be incorporated. With that, to kind of touch on what Cynthia had said about her AI programs that she is helping to develop, we have a ton of AI programs within Full Sail University, and our objective is not to ignore AI, but to lean into it, embrace it, understand it better, and educate our students to use it the right way. So with that, of course, we want to make sure that women are brought to the table with that, and that they are hopefully countermeasuring that 17% of women in leadership eventually with their degrees and their career trajectory. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome.
Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah.
So my name is Amrita Mishra, and I have come here all the way from Singapore.
Wow.
So I lead the Women in Tech global movement, the Singapore chapter, as the country director. Very recently, I took up the position, but I founded the chapter with 2 other amazing women about 2.5 years ago. So what led to this journey? And I want to share this because it's a very interesting conversation and compliments to the statistics that you mentioned. So about 4 years back, when I moved to consulting, and I'm a tech consultant by profession, I had to just coordinate a conference, and I realized everybody who walked into the conference, the majority were men, right? So every table had maybe 1 woman here and there, coordinating something in the corner and bringing the conversation, trying to bring the conversation alive, but being shunned away because men were taking the upper hand and leading the conversation. And that got me thinking as to what's happening here and why are there so few women, even though there are so many women who come out of the universities and taking the degrees. And that's when I did some research, and I stumbled upon the Women in Tech global movement, which is headquartered in Paris. And I began the journey of starting the chapter in Singapore. Because though Singapore is a developed country, we still see biases, and we still have the problem of not enough women representation in the leadership as well as in the workforce. So here I am trying to make a difference in a nonprofit way, because mine is not a business, but a voluntary work, because we want to make sure we are empowering women. And globally, we have a target of empowering 5 million women by 2030. So yes, it's a large target, and we don't charge anything, we don't pay for anything. It's just word of mouth, and we're trying to get as much help as possible in order to make those differences. So hopefully by 2030, we'll see that number move across to a much larger proportion, and we want to make sure that the women are represented in the leadership the right way. So I'm very honored here to be here in front of all of you, and with these amazing women who prove that women can handle very senior leadership.
Yes.
So thank you.
Excellent. Adriana.
So thank you, everybody, for having me here. My name is Adriana Vadillo. I am the CEO and founder of Global Computing, a Mexican company with 27 years of experience, which distributes technical and scientific software products for academia, research, government institutions, and the industry. We have been considered a success case in Latin America because we positioned an algebraic and symbolic calculation product called Mathematica in almost all private and public universities in Mexico. Because of this very important legacy that we left in the market, myself was granted with some scholarships to study my MBA, like in very important universities like Cornell, Ivy League University, and Holt International Business School. I am currently working with the United Nations in the AI forums for developing countries, so that we help developing countries not to be left behind. And we had this important work that we have been doing in our country. We considered ourselves a facilitator, as a helping hand, because we have been collaborating with our country in the most important technology projects within basically the government. Because we like it or not, the most important motor of the economies in Latin America is the government. So it is a honor for me to be participating with this wonderful woman and explaining a little bit of our experiences of how difficult it has been overcoming challenges, and also about the opportunities we find in this woman entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. Wonderful. So this brings us to kind of, and Amrita, you kind of touched upon this a little bit already, but really, what was the key decision that shaped your path into becoming a woman entrepreneur, or to take a different path from what you had previously done? I know a lot of us have lived different lives, and in different, technologies and in different areas. So, let's start with you, Adriana, on this, and come back this way as to kind of what was your, pivotal point of starting something on your own?
Well, I think that for me, it was not like exactly my decision, but I think that life threw me that way because, for example, I studied in the #1 private university in Mexico, so it would be common that I would have followed my path in the corporate world, and my first job was at Microsoft in Mexico. Then I was contacted by Sybase Corporation because Sybase was going to open their offices in Mexico. So I was trained here in the United States to be in charge of the consulting services area and the training facility. But after 3 years, the corporate office didn't meet their target, so they laid everybody off, 300 employees, including myself. I was only 25 years old. So I then was contacted by Visual Numerics, an American company, to open their subsidiary office in Mexico. I was in charge of opening the office from scratch, creating market awareness, selling the very technical products, because I am not technical, I'm not an engineer, but I learned a lot. I spent a lot of time in the cubicles of professors, engineers, students, listening to their very difficult stories about accessing technology. And then after 8 years, the company was sold to another company in the United States, so they closed their international offices. And once again, I was left outside of the corporate world. So even though I insisted to go that way, I think life told me that my mission was being an entrepreneur, like following my own path. And I have been very proud about doing it because I found a lot of challenges, but at the same time, these challenges make you a more resilient person. You learn a lot when you are working directly with the field. By working with people, listening to their needs, you are able to build a vision, and that vision helped me to create my own portfolio of products and be working with leading technology companies in the United States to provide my students, I tell them my students, my researchers, my professors, and my engineers with the tools they need to be more productive and efficient.
Excellent.
Great.
Do you?
Yes, so my story, as I mentioned, it started in a conference room, but eventually the journey was not easy because I've been in the corporate for the last 20 years, and I still have a day job. So I'm a tech consultant and been in the industry for 20 years across consulting as well as banking. So been in investment banks, private banks, tech consulting, big fours, and I've seen the world, and it's always the same pattern. So that's what drove me to start this and make a difference. And to be very honest, right, I mean, like what you mentioned, it's so difficult, and sometimes life puts you in a path, in a course, and you just end up taking the journey. And this is exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
But I'm just so close to being successful. I mean, just this much, and I have a long way to go. So I'm being dramatic here, but that's how the story is. So
Amazing.
over to you, Stacy.
Yeah, for sure. So very, very similar story. And to your point, Sabina, about it being very different backgrounds, but very similar journeys. I grew up in gaming. I am a gamer at heart. I like first-person shooters, which is very much lends itself to a demographic that is not necessarily what I look like. And being in those places and spaces is not always the friendliest to our the way that we are. So being in those waiting rooms and kind of having those conversations and always having people be like, oh, you're a gamer, and getting that ideology behind it is really one of the pivotal moments in my journey where tech is tech for everyone, and gaming is a part of tech. And AI is hugely influencing the way that gaming is moving forward, especially when we talk about educating and mental health and healthcare, all of the journeys that Tech 2.0 conference is taking. AI is touching all of them. And I feel like the way that my career path kind of landed here is also happenstance, where I kind of was shifted in that direction because I was in corporate world for 20 years. And I knew that I needed to kind of shift the way that people felt about gamers. And the only way I could do that was to get people from kind of the ground floor. So what I mean by that is education is part of everyone's journey. Everyone touches education in some way. So if especially women can go in and show that women are a part of that story and educate the people who are going into that career journey, I felt that was a good fit for me once life kind of shoved me in that direction after I realized that the corporate world wasn't going to change as easily as I would have hoped. Education is where we can kind of dig back and realize that, okay, maybe we need to start earlier and then raise people up through that pathway. So that led me to Full Sail, which has been an amazing journey for me, and I'm hoping to continue to be successful, to Amrita's point, of continuing that growth story. This is definitely not the end, but I would say I'm very much at the 1.0 version of myself. So looking forward to continuing it.
Awesome.
Well, for me, I have a lot of stories, but I have 21 years in leadership experience and 15 years in reimbursement. I'm a trained social worker, but I was always a creative person, and I always wanted to help people creatively. And in corporate America, I felt like a caged bird, right? I could not be myself. I had people in leadership telling me to do something, but I knew intuitively that that was wrong, right? And they were trying to say, oh, you're gonna get corrective action, but it was wrong information. And in corporate America, I tend to be, after I transitioned from being a social worker, I ended up being a federal contractor. So I worked for like the CDC as a medical policy advisor. I worked for other high-level health insurance companies in reimbursement, advising them. And it was okay, but I guess didn't like the leadership, what they were saying, right? And I was the minority on top of the minority in these positions. A majority of the roles that I had were very analytical, so they were male-dominated. And sometimes you will be second-guessed. They would think, oh, can she do this? Can she really do this? Because by nature, I'm a very quiet person. I'm just very observant, right? That is my first action. I see the things, and then I correct them. So if people do not know, especially if you're working with a lot of men, and they don't see that, they're going to always think, oh, my God, even though you're a high producer. So in corporate America, I lacked autonomy, and I need autonomy to thrive. I need to be myself. And I felt controlled, and I don't like to be controlled. And I identified all these legacy systems, especially in reimbursement, they lacked efficiency and lacked integrity. So I took a leap of faith, and I took the path less traveled. I quit my job. I had nothing there. Okay, I quit my job. Mostly somebody would tell you, quit your job, and then you need to have a job lined up. Nope, I quit, okay? I was not dealing with that anymore. And so when I took the leap of faith, God gave me the vision for my company, Beauty from Within, coaching and consulting, right? And it takes your beauty comes from within. That was the whole concept from my journey. And I created, or engineering our proprietary engines, RITA, Reimbursement Integrity Technical Architecture, because I realized that in the insurance companies, they had the legacy systems, but it was missing the human connection. And that's what I'm bringing as a social worker, the clinical logic with AI precision, right? And so every job I had, I was like, I had to quit, and I realized I meant to be an entrepreneur.
There you go.
So I started my business, and I believe that was the point where, and now my engineering systems are actually making waves, right?
Yep.
It's actually correcting what I identified in corporate America as the issue, and there's the AI version, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, which we use appearance-based behavioral health interventions, and both of them can infuse, and they create BeautyTECH Gateway, which is an interface that heavily relies on evidence-based digital therapeutics, and it's helping.
That's amazing. My story is very similar. Actually, I am a gamer. I started my career as a gamer, in game testing, but I also have worked for the Intels and the SAPs of the world, and being in corporate, I felt like a caged bird. I felt like I couldn't do what I needed to do for my marketing strategies. I was always told, well, that's all great, but we need to do it this way, right? And as I was growing in my career, and as I was kind of getting my expertise and more integrated and growth, I was kind of pigeonholed into doing only one thing. And so after about 18 months, I would be told, well, we're not really ready for your strategies, so we'll call you back. And they would lay me off and say, okay, thank you for your service. And so life kind of gave me that opportunity to say, why am I waiting for somebody else to tell me to leave? I'm going to leave on my own terms. And so I created my own consulting business to be able to bring the growth strategies to companies, whether they take it or they don't, whether they're ready or they're not, they're able to understand where their own gaps are into being successful. So that is what I have built for the last 2 years. And it was funny because we were on vacation with my family, and it was right after I got laid off my last job. And I had an epiphany, and I said, okay, I think I'm gonna start my own company. And the first thing my husband said to me was, it's about time, right? And so I said, I was a very supportive family that way. So I said, all right, well, there's my green light. And 2 years later, this is where I'm at. So that's kind of what faced me. So with that said, our journeys have not been simple by any means. I know that personal experience and based on the stories that I've heard from you guys. So let's discuss some of the challenges. What are some of the friction that you have faced, as we are seeing? And, Amrita, you're saying that the numbers are going to go up. I would love to come back here in 2030, even before, and show that those numbers have actually grown from this. But, let's kind of hear some of your biggest challenges. I know there's a lot. So if you guys can kind of come through with like maybe 1 or 2 big challenges that you were able to either overcome or that you're still overcoming, right? Because I think it's not a one and done type of situation. These are consistently coming up or morphing, right, into something else. Definitely. So let's start with you, Cynthia. Let's go back down this way.
Statistically, this is actually from a Harvard report, and it's also called a Crunchbase report. 3% of funding are given to women-led businesses, but yet we produce higher ROI, 35% higher.
Wow.
So again, they give us less funding, but the funding that we do receive as a women-led business, we produce more, right? We are naturally gifted in engineering life. That's what we do. We can bring life in this world. We are resilient. So I think to investors, they need to start investing to the individuals that actually can produce and really stick to their guns and build the future, because I believe women in tech is going to be the future. And investing in us and investing in the fact that we actually, if we say we're going to do something, we do it, right? I am a multi-level expert, right? I excel in multiple domains, and a majority of women are the same way. We are able to multitask. You guys have children. I don't have any kids yet. But you guys have children, and you're also powerful women. Do you see that? Multi-talented. So I think being able to provide more funding for women-led businesses is going to be a win-win for all.
Agreed.
I could not agree more. Just from a sheer education perspective, to kind of lean into what your point was, Cynthia, we lose a lot of women in STEM and STEAM around the 6th grade. And I believe that that is a cultural challenge that we're facing as a society, where women are benignly given advice to go away from those career paths. I do not think that they are unable to do so. Your point of ROI proves that we are more than capable of producing results, but we are kind of given this societal feel that women don't belong in those STEM or STEAM places and spaces. So I'm a big believer that we as a society need to encourage women very early and very often to continue to grow into those career paths, regardless of where they end up, because it cannot be stressed how important tech is in any and every job. As kind of this conference has led to, AI is taking over every single space, regardless of where you are. So women and girls need to be trained up in all areas of technology so that they are better enabled to be excellent leaders and to have better careers overall once they do graduate out. So getting to them early is kind of where my pivot point was, and I have seen this in play because I, have led that journey to your challenge and friction point, where it was kind of said like, oh, you'll grow out of gaming. Oh, you'll grow out of wanting to play at the arcade. And now I teach it to
in their
young
faces.
people and making sure that they're better enabled. We used to be told, oh, gaming, you'll grow out of it, and now it's an entire degree program in a multi-trillion-dollar industry, as I said earlier. So ensuring that women are not left behind at 6th grade because of kind of the societal norm of telling them that that's not a space for them.
Awesome.
Right, thanks so much. And I'm going to come to your point on EduTech.
Please.
So the challenges we have been facing in women tech as a general observation, one in Singapore specifically, I would call out pay disparity. Irrespective of where you are, women get paid lesser than men. For the same grade, for the same amount of work they do, in fact more, that you rightfully mentioned, is because they are deemed as a less superior being. Second point is when people come back, women, when they come back from either maternity or career breaks, they don't get the opportunity to showcase what they can bring to the table, be it in the corporate, be it in entrepreneurship, for funding, they don't get that opportunity. And the third point is, right to your point, Stacy, is during the education itself. So many girls, women are taught right from schooling days that don't go this path because there's no future for you. You should be learning something else which will help you manage your household. And yes, as you see, we are entrepreneurs, we are married, some of us are married with children, and we are able to handle businesses, we are able to handle corporates, we are able to handle high pressure jobs, and yet we are here successful. So there's no two things about it that women do make good entrepreneurs. But sadly, we don't have the system that tracks it well and that gives the funding to women-led businesses. But unfortunately, that's the state where we are at, and I'm hoping, hopefully, and with the right amount of education, with the right amount of opportunities which we give to the girls of today, they'll grow up to be better tech professionals, and we'll have a higher representation of women in leadership, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Over to you, Adriana.
For me, well, it has been a list of challenges that I can address personally, and also I'm going to talk a little bit about the market in Mexico, but personally I think all these list of challenges could help me to write even a book. So I'm gonna just give an example of maybe two situations. It's like when I was very young and I was working at Sybase. I was only 25 years old and I had this big responsibility. And instead of my manager helping me and promoting me and develop me, give me the tools to develop myself professionally in the position, they punished me by sending me to a different part of the building and giving me the files of all my colleagues, all the documents of my colleagues to file. So when I was at that young age, well, I just obeyed instructions. I went to the separate building, and I was working by myself there. And now that I'm older and I go back and see that experience, I definitely feel it was like a punishment for being young and being professional. And then along the road, when I was running my own company, I decided not only to have a company that would be profitable, but to have a company that would make a difference in the market, adding value and being a helping hand. So I think that I was in a position where I found out that there was a lot of need in the public universities, mainly in Mexico, that students only had like $20 per month to spend, and usually they would go to software piracy, but not because they want to do so, but because of the need. It's like very scarce resource to pay for transportation, food, books. So I decided that working hard and through volume licensing of software, these students would have been able to access the software just paying $1 a year. So I dedicated myself to do all this hard work and have a social impact in my country. So I worked like only in the #1 public university. I dedicated only like 10 years to make this possible. And then also after being a distributor of this brand for 18 years in Mexico and doing something very great for my country, instead of like even being recognized for it, I was punished for it. The competition start building a strategy against us with the software vendor, with a new sales rep, and after 18 years of doing this hard work, everything was taken away from my hands. So I had to start all over again in 2019, just before the COVID pandemic. And I remember telling my children that sometimes you cannot control what other people do, or if they are unprofessional. We have a lot of unprofessional players in the market, but you cannot control this. You can only control what you do, what you give, and I really feel that I am very rigid, like straight on my values, and I rather start all over again than bending down to this system. So that's why maybe I realized that that's why the universe put me in a path to be an entrepreneur. And all the time that happens to me, every time that I do something that I think in the good common, in everybody is benefiting for something, I don't receive like even a clap like that in my shoulder, but I receive like a punishment. But it doesn't matter. I think that I am resilient enough to continue my own path and to be giving this helping hand to everybody, because I think that anytime that I receive this, it feels like you have to give more, and you have to work more, and you have to be thinking on the common good, because everybody, we're all in the same boat, and whatever we do, it's going to affect everybody. So this is in my personal opinion.
That's amazing.
And just another comment in the market is that, for example, it's also affected by the culture. I think that our culture romanticizes a lot the fact that if you are a woman, you have to be married with a man that is your supplier. And I think this is not doing any good for women or even for our economy, because it's like even people tell you, okay, you are lucky because you are marrying maybe a wealthy man. But I think that women should be autosufficient. And also, if we have equality in gender in the workforce in Mexico, this would impact in 43% increase in the GDP. So I think it is very important to have gender equality in our workforce.
I love
Thank you.
Amazing.
And if I may just add something, she is a living example of resilience.
Yes.
And how women entrepreneurs make really to the top. She is a living example. So kudos to you.
Thank you,
Adriana.
Agreed. And along with all of those, I think my biggest challenge has been actually building credibility. And actually, I feel like I have built my credibility behind brand names or behind the companies that I have worked for. And I have built the momentum for almost 30 years now in the industry, but I am having to rebuild that credibility for myself and under my own name. And I think that's been the hardest challenge for me, is I have the proof points and I have the backing behind a lot of the brands that I've worked for, but for some reason that's not enough. And so having to rebuild the brand for myself, who is Sabina and who is integrated growth marketing is really the brand that I'm having to rebuild. And I didn't know this when I first started out. I thought, oh, Sabina, coming through, it didn't matter which company I worked for, but it really did. And so if I had anything, or if I could tell girls that are coming into the workforce today, I would say, try to build your name and your credibility beyond the brand that you work for. And I think that would definitely help a lot of girls today when they're coming out. Okay, so beyond the doom and gloom, I'm sure we've all had our wins and we've all had our opportunities that we would love to talk about. So let's go back down the line and say, what has been your biggest opportunity or win that you have seen as being a woman entrepreneur?
Okay, well, branching out to entrepreneurship is becoming successful for me, right? I was selected as the woman leader of 2026 and the next person to watch in transforming AI and digital strategy for 2026. So, and my innovative video won as well. So, it's coming down the line. And all of my pageant beauties, so our vehicle is the beauty industry, and I'm a pageant trainer in addition to what I do. So all my girls have got the crown, they've won, and they have also come back and started their businesses. That's why my brands are interconnected. And it's when I'm just a little bit of success, right? My goal is building that empire with that interconnected empowerment tech ecosystem that I'm building out. And I think so far it's been very successful because I get messages like every other week, people from LinkedIn saying how what I do is empowering. So that's empowering me, right?
Yes.
That's building confidence in me to go out and do what I continue to do. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I would say biggest wins are watching my students grow. I take kind of to your point of your girls for the pageants and also the people reaching out to LinkedIn is a lot of the journey is not just about us, it's about who we impassion, embolden, and enable to grow in the space, especially not to dismiss any of my students, but especially the women students who end up at EA Sports, at Blizzard, at all of these larger companies in these sometimes introductory roles, but that's their journey towards their larger steps in career and hopefully to those leadership positions to shift some of those statistics we're hoping to see move in the future. So a lot of it's just watching that light bulb moment or that passion grow and then watching them take that first little baby step into their journey and just kind of hoping that the planted seed that you've put there just makes a tree in the future. I love an old proverb that just says, while we plant the seeds today, we may not see the trees ourselves, but our children will, and they will stand underneath its shade. So I kind of just try to live and educate into that ideology that maybe it's not about me right now, but it's about the girls and women that we create for tomorrow.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, because I'm a nonprofit, right, I think the biggest win has come very recently where I have started receiving a lot more questions from people about how to make a difference. How can I be part of the journey and I want to make a difference? So I tell people, hey, we are voluntary, right? I don't pay anyone, I don't charge anything to anyone. So if you want to come on board, you want to do something for the society, it has to be on your free time basis and on a voluntary basis. People actually agree, and I think that's a big win because people are willing to invest time with you to make a difference. And that's where I feel that, yeah, I mean, something is going right. Of course, we are not at 5 million yet. I mean, nowhere close.
Yet. You'll get there.
Yet.
Hopefully, one day. But the interest, the inquisitiveness, the kind of questions people are asking, the kind of difference they want to make, the ideas they bring on board, that's a win so far. And I'm hoping to see that it grows in the future and more societies are willing to invest their time to make it a better place for people who want to make it a better place. So like Stacy, I don't think we will be there to see the fruits or the grown-up trees, but definitely our children, hopefully, they'll be able to see it one day.
Yeah. Agreed.
And for me, my biggest win is definitely my children. I am very proud of them. They are very talented, academically speaking, and human beings. They moved from Mexico since they were very young. My son moved 16 years old, and my daughter when she was 14 years old. So my son came to the United States, to Boston, to study his high school. He studied aerospace engineering at the University of Washington. He's right now doing his master's with a scholarship from University of Boston, master's in mechanical engineering. He will graduate in May, and then he's already accepted for the PhD in aerospace engineering because he wants to be an astronaut. So he has everything against him. He knows it, but he's working very hard to achieve his dreams. And I'm very proud of them because they are overachievers. And my daughter, she moved to Canada when she was 14 years old. She's now studying at Penn State University. She has A's plus straight for 2 years. She's studying human-centered design and development. She wants to change the world. She wants to develop computers, programs based on humans. And she's like, I'm very proud of her as well, but I feel very well as a mother because she's 21 years old. And every time that I post anything in my Instagram, and I just have 200 followers because it's just my very close friends and family, but every time that I post something, she's the #1 person. She's the first person that looks at my path, and she has come in the university and said his professor she wants to be an entrepreneur, and she's following my steps. So every time she's like, Mother, I look at your LinkedIn, I am gonna see the path of these people because I want to develop these programs. And now she has been accepted for her internship in the IT department at Penn State. She's only 21 years old. So I think that's my biggest win because I definitely think that more than knowledge and more than careers and more than profits, I think the most important thing we bring to the table are the values. And everything that we seed and we put with our own heart is what we're going to collect.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my biggest opportunity or win has been just the idea of us being up here on stage and talking about our journeys and talking about our experiences, because I think through our journeys and our stories, we are able to influence and be able to help others get to the point that we are today. You know, for me, I didn't have this voice, or I didn't have the opportunity to have this voice when I was at corporate. And the fact that as soon as I stepped down from corporate, I was given the opportunity. I actually took the opportunities to be able to talk about growth marketing and the differences between growth marketing and demand. I've been able to given the opportunity to talk about women in tech, which, you know, I've been in tech for 28 years and I have always been in a room with men, and that's it, you know, and talking about what those experiences are like, I never had that opportunity. I was told to write a book, actually by my mom. She said, Sabina, you should write a book about your story, which I did. So, and like I said, I have a few copies here if anybody would like. And it just gave me the time and the opportunity to tell my stories and, you know, hopefully to make some difference with other women, other entrepreneurs. Doesn't have to be just women. Anyone that's looking to try something new, it's okay. You will have that imposter syndrome. I definitely have it every day, and I have to get through that, you know, hurdle every day. It's like, no, I do have something to say. I do have a valid story, and I do have somewhere to go. Yeah. So with that, I want to say if we have time for questions, otherwise I want to have a chance for everyone to kind of give a one-liner of what you would like for everybody to take away at the end of this. But I don't see the 2-minute marker yet, and I don't see the hands. We have time. Awesome. So before we do the one-liners, are there any questions for us from the audience itself on any of our journeys or anything that you guys may be thinking about that you guys have in your minds? Anything? Okay, well, no questions, I guess. So let's start with you on that end, and we'll come down this way. So if you wanted everyone to take away 1 or 2 things based on this.
I think it is very important to have self-awareness, to identify your talents, what you bring to the table, and be very strong and resilient in terms of setting up your goals and working towards that goals that you set yourself. Not listen to the noise of the society. Don't accept the position where the society wants to put you. And it's going to be a long path, because it definitely, for me, took a long time. I was very busy doing something good for my country, and because I was satisfied with that. Nobody was paying attention to that. And at the end, 18 years of my time, because I see it that way, was given to another company. And it was a shock for me, because I come from a family with a lot of values, and I was going to surrender. I was not going to close the company, because my employees didn't allow me to do so, because they told me you are much more than that, you know. But I went and moved to Canada. I was offered the scholarships to study in these Ivy League universities, but my kids were in the West Coast. So I went to Canada to study an MBA, and then a government institution in Mexico asked me to come back. And then a lot of recognitions came abroad from international business magazines, Forbes, an article in Forbes, the UN requesting me to help them. So I think that sometimes the universe has this miraculous thing of showing you that it's good enough not to surrender, because you don't know what the other day is going to bring you. And just like be very strong, know yourself, be persistent, and that everything is going to take a lot of time, and that things are not immediate, and that technology, it's a technology forum, has its good side and bad side, and it's better to focus on the good side of the technology. Thank you.
All right, so what I want everyone to take away today is that we are not asking women to displace men. That's not the ask. I think many times, right, when people look at women in tech, they probably think that women are asking for displacement. No, that's not the ask. What we are asking is for a platform to showcase our skills, to give us the opportunity so that we can bring a diverse perspective and values to what we have to offer in the ecosystem. So it's collaboration over competition, and not the other way around. It's not a competition with men here or anyone. It's all about collaboration, and how do we bring everything together so that we can have more perspectives, we can have more ideas, and just like AI, we can conquer the world better. So that's what, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of leaning into both of your points. I heard a lot growing up that practice makes perfection. I completely disagree with that. I believe that practice makes progress. You are never perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. So if I had you guys leave with anything today, it's that we continue to practice giving women a platform. We continue to practice giving women recognition for the hard work that they do in their roles. We continue to practice allowing for women entrepreneurs to continue to grow in their pathways. And then that way we all achieve collaborative progress together, to kind of lean into your point. Whether that's through encouraging them to stay into those STEM and STEAM programs and to keep tech front of mind to enable them for the future, or just simply to allow them to fail fast, and fail safely. All of those things move us closer to progress as a whole. But I will lean into one saying my mother used to say is, many hands make light work. And I think that all together we make those many hands, and eventually it will become a lighter amount of work.
Very good.
Love that.
Yeah, I support what all you fabulous ladies said. And to add, remember when I introduced myself, I said I was the original STEM OG. You know what I mean by that? I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa, and when my family and I immigrated to the United States, in the American school system, before STEM, right, they had the home economics class that focused on design and structure, and then they had technology education class that focused on technology, engineering, and execution. All of those classes I did really, really well in. So I was training myself from what I'm building now, right? So I always quote Esther chapter 4, verse 14, you are born for such a time as this, right? And what I say is your mindset is your primary operating system. You need to feed it with positivity. Know yourself, know the skills that you have been given and how you can execute that with precision, and you will always win, right? And have unshakable clarity in what you want to do. And the first thing I believe in business is knowing your skill set and what you bring to the table. I knew that I was good in technology. I was trained in the 5th grade for what I'm doing now, right? And to all the investors as well, the statistics that I gave earlier about women receiving less funding but yet reproduce higher ROI, I think they need to take that into consideration logically now and see that investing in women is really investing in the future, and it's going to be a win-win for all.
I love that. I agree with all of that. The one thing that I would say is that, as you can see, none of our paths have been linear. We've all had to reinvent ourselves multiple times in, I don't know how many lives we've all lived at this point in time, right?
I know.
And, I think it's the quality of the decisions that you make, and it is those outcomes that allow you to understand what you're good at and who you are and where you, accept who you have to be. I had a very similar situation where when I was a kid, my mom put me in computer classes, but I wanted to be a doctor. And at the end, I realized I may love medicine, I love to read about it, but that is not what I'm good at. I am good at being in technology and actually doing tech marketing. And so that's the path that I chose. And it took me a while to get there, and it's taken me a while to get to be this woman entrepreneur and, to get to be here, but the path is not linear. One of my favorite quotes from Audrey Hepburn is that nothing's impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. And I live my days with that saying in mind. Nothing is impossible. And if you really put your mind to it, as we have done it, and I'm sure many of you have, everything can be possible. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Thanks for having us on stage. Thank you, girls.
Thank you, ladies.
This is amazing. I love this conversation. And I will hand it back over to you.